Seemed like reading out the door. Common sense you can't find no more. And I guess we're gonna need somebody with a master plan. Guess we're gonna need somebody take us to the promised land.
Hey, how you doing out there in podcast world? This is Bob on Bob's Blues and the News that's coming to you directly from Atlanta, Georgia. It's a little gray today, but, the temperatures are warming up some, so I think spring is on the way. And, we don't get the cold down here like they do up in the northern climes like New York and Chicago. I mean, I'm in the deep south, So we just get maybe, 2 or 3 weeks of really cold weather, if that much, during the year usually. Of course, every year is a little different. The weather changes all the time, so it's hard to pin it down. But anyway, I hope it's okay where you are. So I just finished listening. I mean, I'm doing other stuff as well. I've got a lot of irons in the fire, trying to make things happen in various scenes. Between my finance business and my music business, and just trying to make a few pennies here and there. It's tough any way you look at it. Still, for the economy, I say any way you look at it. I mean, there are people making plenty of money, and the economy is booming as far as the stock market goes. I'm reflecting more on Main Street because that's the kind of environment I'm working in. I'm a sort of an average guy, not rich and famous, middle class. I like to say maybe upper middle class. But, the economy is just starting to hit, I believe, middle America and Main Street. And I do think, especially after tax seasons when people get nice size refund checks, hopefully, for everyone, things will start and get better on Main Street. I mean, Trump has made a lot of promises about the economy, and you see there are improvements. They had some numbers come out today. The jobs number was pretty good, considering we're fighting against AI all the time too. So everybody has to recalibrate. That's the word. How to make money. What best business to get into? What's the trade that's going to pay off in the AI age? And basically, it's a trade. If you're a plumber, electrician, you're still doing okay. If you're dealing with people, the retail side, relationships, you still need those kind of people. So there are jobs for humans still, thank God. But you just have to know how to use AI. And that's what everybody has to gear up for, is using the tools. Now, I'm in the music business, and AI has really taken over, more or less, the music business in a lot of ways. Of course, I preach you should use it every time you can, just for answers, for knowing the best ways to market, to produce, whatever. But to actually go out and make everything from AI, from the lyrics, from the song to the music, and everything is AI generated, then that's a little an overkill. You know what I mean? And that's not really you. You have to put in the soul, right? Talk about soul music if you like. You have to put in the personal touch. You have to put in your human consciousness. And I don't think you'll ever be able to put in, although some people might claim otherwise, and there might be movies saying otherwise, but I don't think you can put a soul into a machine. Ghost in the machine. I don't really think you make the machine have consciousness, although it can seem very ethical. I must admit, my wife uses Claude all the time, and she tells me Claude is very ethical, and even because she's Jewish, and she asks some questions about whether she should do this from a Jewish perspective, being a religious Jew, and Claude will tell her, no, you can't do that, it's a Jewish holiday. So Claude can become very ethical, but still there's a limit to the robot and there's a limit to the machine, but we're just at the beginning of this age. And it's amazing how fast we're getting into the age of AI. So we'll see where the world goes with all that, but everybody's going to have to take a deep breath and deal with it. Now, what I really wanted to talk about today was because I was listening to it on my phone while I was doing something else with the Pam Bondi, the AG of the United States, was in front of Congress, and of course she was being drilled, mainly by the Democrats who could not get Epstein, you say Epstein, off their minds. Jeffrey Epstein. What can I tell you? This guy was a sleazeball, and he knew a lot of movers and shakers. He knew a lot of powerful people. And yes, he was Jewish, but he wasn't a good Jew. Most of the Jews I know are very good and very ethical and very principled. This guy was flirting with the devil himself. And he liked young girls. And, you see all these, and they want to tie Trump, of course, to Epstein. And they see all these names that were redacted in the report. I mean, it's a massive report just came out, and you probably didn't see a lot on social media about it. But some names are still redacted, and so they think, Trump is there everywhere, and he's guilty, and he was having sex with these young girls with Epstein, and not true. In fact, Trump was one of the first people to warn the authorities about this guy, and he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Because, you see pictures of him sometimes at some social events, even his wife, but, Epstein socialized with all the power players, and a lot of people had no clue that he was doing all this stuff on his island. So he's more attached to the Democrats, to Bill Clinton, to people who want to bring down the conservative movement. And he was Jewish, but he hated Israel, it seemed like. He had a good friend in Israel with Barack, and Barack was one of the worst prime ministers Israel ever had, on the far left. So he was a very far left, world globalist, anti-religion, anti-God pervert who had, because he was so intelligent, he had a lot of contacts with very powerful people. It was a long interview, if you get a chance to see some of it, with Steve Bannon that's just been released. And Steve Bannon, I guess he was a friend of, he was calling him out on a lot of this stuff. But it seems like they had a connection. So he did a long interview with Epstein. And if you look at that interview, you can see the guy is creepy after a while. He seems very smart and cool and sort of charismatic at first. And you can see how people can get taken in with him. But then, as he was questioning more about Pacific stuff on the shady side, you could see him sort of give a creepy expression and act a little creepy, like, yeah, maybe I did do all that, but what is it? What of it? And he had no guilt. What can I tell you? People like that are beyond feeling guilty. Even though he was in jail for sex crimes, all this kind of stuff, they have no guilt. It's amazing. You would think they would be a little ashamed, a little embarrassed about it, but no, it's like, so what? That's sort of his attitude. So that was creepy. But anyway, they really came down hard on the Democratic side, of course, on the Epstein file. And they were saying all these people have been redacted, like Trump, and you divulge all these other people that were victims, and you're hiding all this stuff. We want to see the transparency. All this stuff needs to be played out. And you can't, a lot of things are going to be in the courts. And for people's safety, for certain reasons, you have to be a little hesitant about spurting out everything, because there's so many implications. And Pam Bondi says, I'm open. If you have any victims, if you had any, come and talk to me directly. But, they want to, and it's a dog and pony show, it's a circus. And they want to, prosecute her right off the bat. And they want to make her to be the agent of evil when she's trying to clean up all the evil. And I just see all this partisan infighting, and that really brings about evil into the country. This evil of partisan politics is really destroying our country. And that's what I'm afraid of, even more so than the terrorists, the jihadists, the Russians, the Chinese. The biggest enemy is the enemy within. And that is what we must focus on more than anything else, more than what's going on in Iran, even though I've been following that a lot, or Israel, I follow that a lot as well, or other issues in the world. The enemy within is the real problem. And we do have the enemy. I'm not talking about foreign adversaries, even though some of these people might be influenced by foreign adversaries. The politicians, especially on the far left, who tend to be more and more communist, who tend to be more and more socialist, are a big danger, and they are an evil that we must fight against. Now, I'm not saying everybody on the right is innocent, but because you have a lot of bad people on the right, but these people on the far left who are, a lot of them are anti-Semitic, a lot of them are communists, socialists, who don't believe in our form of government and want to hide their own culpability, their own sins. They could cause, and they want to cause, it seems like in some cases, a civil war. And they call Trump Hitler. They say he is evil. And they call ICE the Gestapo. And they're totally against stopping immigrants coming in, to a large part. They're totally against law enforcement because they think everybody should live any way they want to live. And they're totally against any hardcore principles that this country was built upon. The right to speech, the right to carry arms, the right to do what you want to do within the framework of law and order. This is a big problem right now, and this is the one problem we have to solve. It's an issue a big issue we have to solve, maybe bigger than anything else. If we want our country to stay free, if we want our country to continue to prosper, and Pam Bondi was bringing this up and said, what's the stock market have to do with it? But she was saying how good things are going economically, as far as the stock market goes anyway, and like there are signs that the market, and even I was talking at the beginning about Main Street, there are signs that things are going in the right direction. And Trump is doing basically what he said he was going to do in a lot of cases. But these people want to stop it because they have an agenda that's totally against what this country stands for. This is the major problem. And anyway, I got to do other things, so I can't stay here much longer. But enjoy the day, and I'll just go on out with that little song I wrote called Too Much News, because when you go, there's too much news. I get blasted. If you own your phone, man, it makes you go crazy. I just have to turn off my phone more, I guess. Anyway, love you all. It's Bob on Bob's Blues and the News.
say Jesus